There's a section in the Tao that talks about the spokes on a wheel, and how, you have a wheel and you have all the spokes in the center thing on the wheel. But really what makes the wheel, part of what makes a wheel very useful is the space that, the center space in between spokes as well as in the center. That empty space is really what creates a sense of usefulness. So I think we've all had the experience of cleaning out our fridge, or cleaning out a closet, or cleaning out, decluttering our house in some way, decluttering the mind in some way, where you suddenly have, when you have spaciousness, there is a sense of possibility. And, like the whole idea is, a cup is useful because it has empty space that can be filled. So, I think our yoga practice can be a boon for this. It can be a opportunity for us to do that kind of clearing out of the mind and the body, where we can not only feel more spacious in simple places like our joints, or muscle length, increased range of motion, more supple feeling in the body, which of course is wonderful, but it also can give us a sense of that in the mind. So if you have been struggling in some way with, feeling overwhelmed by scheduling or clutter in the mind, thoughts that just keep coming and won't stop, use your practice as an opportunity, just like you would feel really good after cleaning out a room or a closet or something. Let it be your body that you're clearing. Let it be your mind that you're clearing through our practice today. So go ahead and sit up straight and tall, and just take a moment to drop your awareness into your body. Feel into this moment, what's available here right now. So maybe you've been up for hours and hours and you've had a lot of stress. Maybe you just woke up and your body feels a little, tight, and you need some loosening. So whatever is happening in the mind body, just be present for it. Bring your awareness into the state of grounding, into the state of ease. And as you start to relax and feel grounded and get to know the breath, imagine, I always like to think of springtime and opening windows up and fresh breezes that come through. So the breezes that we've had in the last couple of days, imagine your breath is the breeze that kind of opens up and moves through the body. Something new and fresh comes in on the in-breath, and something gets to leave on the out-breath. So whatever it is you're inviting, make room for it. Sometimes tension alone can inhibit our capacity to feel spacious. So scan the body for the pockets that you hold and melt as best as you can. Let's place your hands together at your heart. And let's bow in, cultivate an intention. What's here today? What do you need? Release the hands. And let's come onto our mat. All right, so find your way to a lying down posture. Enjoy. So nice to lie down, even if just for a moment. Feel the shift of gravity in your body. Reach your arms overhead and just enjoy a beautiful stretch where we get to lengthen and open. All right, let's go ahead and bring the knees into the chest and let's rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. So just get to know, how is your back feeling today? How's your body? What part of you, as you begin your warm-ups here, start to pay attention to notice what part of you needs a little more space. So we're going to be all about space today. So just see, where are you feeling spacious? Where are you not? Let's open the knees away from each other and then bring the knees back. Try to pay attention, as always, to the rhythm and pace and feeling texture of your breath. Our breath can be a really big boon in helping cultivate that feeling of spaciousness. Keep your knees together now, and let's circle the knees. Let's go one direction 2 or 3 times. Another direction 2 or 3 times. All right, so right knee gives a nice snug up hug into your chest. And change sides, left knee, drawing in. I'm going to go back and forth a couple of times. Right knee, left leg long, left knee, right leg long. One more time each side, plug it in. Breathe, other side. And then stretch your body like a star on the ground, reaching into your tips. And while you're out here, roll your wrists and your ankles. Maybe open and close your fists or roll around in your fingers or your toes. Just feel to the very edges of your body. And also, while you're here with your legs stretched out, internally and externally rotate from your hip joints, your thighs, your whole leg really. So just find a little bit of internal rotation, a little bit of external rotation. And just notice when you're in abduction, when your legs are pulled away from the midline, what is the available range of motion of your hip joints? And then relax that and bring your knees in, pick up your head, give a good snug hug, maybe all your breath out and squeeze. And then all your breath in, hold it for a moment, squeeze every muscle you've got. And then relax the breath, relaxing knees to chest. All right, put your feet on the ground. Arms can be out wide or down at your side, whichever feels good. Feet are wide on the mat, and let's just windshield wiper our knees. I'm just getting a little bit of looseness started in the spine. It's so easy to get locked up in any part of the body, but especially, our backs, our hips. If we sit for long periods of time, we can get some strain and tension in all sorts of places. Now grab a strap if you have it. We're going to put 2 feet into the strap, reaching your legs straight up in the air. So feel into the length of the back of your legs. Hook the strap around the front edge of the heel, around the arches, so that you can move your feet and not lose your strap. So we're going to flex the toes toward our face and point our toes up toward the sky. So of course we're opening up the feet and the calves and the ankles, but in the meantime, feel that your spine is spacious on the floor. You have enough give on the strap where you're nice and relaxed in the upper body. All right, keep the right foot in the strap, left leg on the ground. Move your right hip away from your shoulder and feel into Supta Padangusthasana. I've been falling back in love with this posture a lot, so I know we've been doing it a fair amount, and I hope you're falling in love with it as well. Such a nice, subtle way to open the back line of the body. Feel your head rest, feel your shoulders rest, and just open up. Okay? Flex and point a couple times just with this foot. And then when you're ready, right hand on the strap, open your right leg out to the right. Your left leg can be on the floor or your left knee can be bent with your foot on the floor, whatever works. Feel your left arm reach out. Feel your crown and tail reach out. Feel the extension of the full body, not just tipping over to the side. What can you melt into the ground? All right, let's lift that leg straight back up again. Strap into the left hand, cross the right leg over to the left. Move your right hip away from your right shoulder and enjoy the IT band stretch, the outer hip, maybe even a little bit into a spinal twist. Just see where your body wants to be. Still experience the deep breath, the long exhales, the melting of your spine and head on the ground. And then lift that leg back up. 2 feet back into the strap. Notice the difference between your 2 legs. Lengthen through the spine, shoulders are relaxed. A flex point here with your feet. And then switch sides when you're ready. Right leg comes out, left foot in the strap. Reach up, root down. So find the 2 opposing directions of reaching your foot up, but also dropping your femur bone down into the hip socket. Flex your toes, point your toes, get a little bit of mobility so you can open up the calf. Feel some range of motion in your Achilles, the top of your foot. How's your breath? Melt your shoulders, melt your head. Let's open the left leg out to the left. So enjoy the spaciousness here in your spine. Reach into your right arm, reach into your right foot, your crown. Find your breath. Make sure you're able to melt. So have moments, maybe on the exhales, where you feel the yielding. As you're ready, lift that leg straight up in the air again. Take the strap into the right hand, cross left leg over to right. Left hip is moving away from your shoulder. Have a moment to melt the spine and head. Relax what you can. Hip down, reach through your foot. Breathing deeply. And then lift that leg straight back up again. And then lower that leg down, 2 feet on the ground. Stretch and lengthen through the body. Exhale, knees into your chest. Chin up. Roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so as we start to move through some cat-cows, enjoy. Such a beautiful way to open the spine. Enjoy the arching and the rounding, especially if you've been slumped over a chair for a while. You know, we can get so compressed in our vertebrae so easily when we're sitting at a desk for any length of time. Full breaths. Move the spine around any way you want to move the spine around. So have some circling, breathing deeply. Maybe swaying the hips, wagging the tail, moving the head around. And then find your way back to child's pose and start inching your hands forward. So you get a stretch through one shoulder and then a stretch through another shoulder, and then settle your body down. Open things up through your shoulders, your rib cage. Take a breath into the back of the body. Walk the hands over to one side of the mat and notice all the space that you're creating in your sideline. So from fingers, feel the stretch find its way all the way down to your sit bone. Breathing well. And then over to the other side you go. I'm sure that, you know, if you've been practicing with me for a long time and we have this routine, right, of warming up. Sometimes, some days, just doing the warm up is enough. So if you have 10 minutes to do a little yoga, it's amazing what just some of these beginning stretches can do to your embodiment and your sense of spaciousness in the body. Come back up onto all fours. And move through some cat-cows again. All right, inhale, left arm lifting high. Exhale, slide it under, finding a twist here. Enjoy what the spine, the shoulder blades feel like. Relax the head. Feel free to melt. You can turn your head toward the ground if that's better. It's common for the hips to want to shift off to the right. So do what you can to stabilize. And then come out a little ways. So we're facing the floor with our chest dropped back like child's pose, collarbones broad. Stretch the back side of your shoulder. And then inhale, lift that arm all the way up again. Place the hand down onto the ground. Second side. Enjoy the twisting. So enjoy the lift and then enjoy the drop. Breathing well. So open up a lot of fascia. See if you can breathe into all the pieces of your spine, your vertebrae. Notice how your ribs move in this position. And melt through the base of your skull. There's no need for tension there. And then when we're coming out, pause halfway out where we can drop back towards child's pose. Our arm is underneath us, but our chest is facing the floor. Wide collarbones. Breathing well. And then reach that arm all the way up again. Hand down onto the ground. Come all the way up to dog pose when you're ready. So enjoy. This is, we get to put it all together now for a full back line stretch. Yield, push, and reach. See what it feels like to melt through your skull, your face, your skin. Notice how beautiful and big the breath can be. See if you can be the empty room here. So find the open space. As you yield and feel that connection, it gives you possibility for reaching into space. Notice what the belly feels like, what the rib cage feels like. Is there room to breathe? All right, and then walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana, fold it in half. Feel free to shimmy, shake, move around in your skull, your head, your shoulders, your hips. Then increase your stretch in your legs by coming into a halfway lift. So now feel from the backs of the knees, lifting up to the sit bones, from the backs of the knees, reaching down into your heels, then soften the backs of the knees. Spread open the bones of your feet. Feel the length of your spine. And then melt again. Maybe your knees bend a little bit. Let the spine soften. So become like a waterfall where the spine can kind of fall from the pelvis down and drip out through your skull. Wobble your head. One more time. Halfway lift. Open the backs of the legs again. Feel it through your feet all the way to your sit bones. Then exhale and melt again. Drop your seat down. Lift your chest up. Rise up. Reaching the arms to the sky if you feel ready. So a lot of times we need a little bit of a moment to equalize our blood pressure. So if that's the case, just hang out there until you feel steady. And when you're ready, open up, squeeze the shoulder blades together so your chest comes open, and then bring your forearms to touch so your shoulder blades can broaden. Arms up one more time, lean back. Exhale, swan dive forward, relax the spine, head is soft. Halfway lift, spine grows. Exhale and melt, relax the neck. Step your left foot back, right foot is coming forward. We're gonna put our back knee down on the ground. So pad underneath it if you need to, and have some blocks available. So 2 blocks underneath your hands if you need it. If you're super flexible, maybe you can touch the floor. All right, we're gonna stretch our toes up toward the sky, and we're gonna go back and forth like we usually do without our knee on the ground, but we're gonna do it with our knee on the ground. So we're gonna open the hips a little bit. So come into a lunge without falling. So there's still some integrity, pressing the earth away. And then come into a straight leg. Now decide, how do you want to breathe as you move? Would you like to do one breath, one movement? Or would you like to have a sense of hanging out in these poses for a little bit of time? I would suggest moving, passing through 2 or 3 times, and then staying put if it feels good to do so. So we're increasing the range of motion, both in both sides of our hips, just slightly differently. And now, if you haven't yet, pause in the extension of your back hip. So lunge deeply, hands on blocks to lift you up. Try not to fall toward the floor. Press into the earth to reach up. When you're ready, reach one hand. So just your left hand, right hand's on your thigh. Reach up, maybe back a little bit, stretch through the hip flexor, maybe your hand's on the block, and you open to the side. Just find whatever's going to open up through your psoas here best. And then finding a twist, forearm to the knee or elbow to the outer knee, open through your spine. You can do any variation that feels good. And then release and relax. Come back to child's pose. Feel the hip flexors on that left leg just coil back and soften. Then we're going to find the other side. So bringing our left foot forward, the right knee is going to be onto the ground. All right, so this gentle process of opening ourselves up. Let's move first if that feels comfortable to you. So you can straighten the knee and flex the toes and then come back and move with breath. You decide, do you want to go faster than breath, with breath? Where do you want the inhales? Where do you want the exhales? All right, and then when you're ready, hang out in the lunge. Find your breathing, open the chest. I'm going to have a little bit more here. So hand on knee, reach up, maybe back, maybe over to the side. Just find whatever's going to open up through your hip. Notice the difference between your two sides. And cross your forearm to your knee or put your elbow to the outer knee, wherever you go, and lift into a twist. Try not to collapse. So we're pushing through our feet, rising up through our spine, giving room for the twist to happen. Relax. And one more time, back to child's pose. Let the hip flexors soften. Feel free to rock a little bit left and right if that feels nice for your body. Come forward and lie down on your belly. Inhale, cobra pose. Chest opens. Exhale and release. So you don't have to go to your highest height. You also don't have to do cobra. Maybe you'd rather do arms out in front of you, back bend. So just find these warming up back bending stretches. One more time, whatever variation is good for you. Relax. Come up onto all fours. Move the spine around. So switch your hips from side to side, like fish. And then I'm going to turn to the side so you can see this. We're going to stretch the right foot straight back, curl the toes under, and then we're going to bring that knee up, cross it over the other knee, and stretch back for a hip stretch. Inhale, knee up. Exhale, toes curl under. Let's do it twice more. Cross it over. And step it back. One more time. Change sides. Left foot, curl the toe under. Bring the knee up, cross left thigh over right thigh, stretch it on back.
don't worry if this is complicated and you don't get that leg all the way over, that's okay. Just be where you are. One more time. When you're ready, turn it into a dog pose and lengthen through your spine. Notice if you tend to collapse, see if you can root to rise, feel the yield and the lift. All this open space, open your body up. Let's take the feet wider on the mat and just notice the pelvis, what changes in your breath and in your sensation when your legs are wider. And walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Hold. Halfway lift. And melt again. Rise all the way up. Bring your breath here. Come back to Tadasana. All right. Let's go ahead and take our feet to the edges of your mat. And we're going to do some squatting. All right, so first, you can take them a little wider too. You just find your comfort. We're going to use our forearms or our elbows to open up our knees and kind of get into the inner thighs. You can rock a little bit to one foot and the other foot. Lengthen through your spine. Breathing well. Spread out the bones of your feet. And then rise up. Now, if you get dizzy or your body doesn't like moving squats, then you can find your way into a squat and stay. Otherwise, we're going to move through some squatting postures. So you don't have to go all the way down. You can. So arms up. Exhale. Squat down and experiment. You can have your legs closer, and do kind of more like chair-like squats. We're going to do a few. So kind of find your pathway of rising up and squatting down. Go it slow. You do not have to do this on supersonic speed. Maybe try a couple in different positions. Feel the rebound of pushing yourself into straight. Notice your legs. Your legs have preference of weight bearing. And now try taking your legs wide like goddess pose. And we're going to come down. And then rise up. Twice more. All right, and let's just hang out here for a moment. Put your arms anywhere that feels good. Spread open the bones of your feet. Ground yourself. Use your leg muscles, all of them. Big breaths. Okay, and then come on up. Star. And now put your legs in the most comfortable place for a deep squat. So we're going to come all the way down. So a lot of times when we squat, we kind of end up with our hips in line with our knees. So come all the way down. If you can't reach, you can put a blanket underneath your heels. You can, where are my blocks? You can sit on a block if you want to. There's all sorts of ways of supporting. You can put your back against a wall. But getting used to getting our legs in a squatting position, even though this doesn't feel spacious, having the capacity to deeply flex our hip joints will give us spaciousness in our range of motion. And this is part of the range of motion, is deep flexion. All right, so notice where your weight is landing. See if you can still lift out of the spine. We're going to do a little twist here. Drop your left arm, armpit close to the knee. Reach the other arm up. Find your breath. And then change sides. Elbow inside the knee. Stretch the arm up. and then come back to a deeper squat. We're going to come forward onto our knees and to our hands, finding a cat-cow. Maybe you want to round the back first. Maybe you want to arch. If you ended up rounding your back a lot in the squat, feel free to move your spine around to loosen things up. So you can wag your tail or move your hips around in any way that serves. Okay, so this might seem like an awkward time to do it, but we're going to come into pigeon pose. So put a blanket underneath you if you need it. Right leg comes first. If you can't or don't want to do pigeon pose, do reverse pigeon pose. All right, so we're just getting into the hips, some deep movement in the hip joints. So as you know, there's a lot of flexion in this, but there's also rotation. So notice the difference in how this feels versus how a squat felt. Lengthen through your spine. Now open up the back leg, stretch through the hip flexors some. Breathing well. And then you can start to find your way lower toward the ground. Support your head with a block if you want. So just because we're going down doesn't mean we're shrinking. So still, even more, find the length of your spine. Melt through your skull and relax what you can. All right, so part of creating space is creating increased range of motion. So even though this may not feel spacious at the moment, what can you do to give a little space into what's available right now? Breathe well. All right, so come back up. Maybe you want to do dog pose in between, which is fine. Maybe you want to just switch sides. So whatever feels good for your body. Left leg is now coming forward. Support any way you want to support. I like currently in my practice, I usually use a blanket that goes across underneath my back leg thigh and my front leg sit bone. But perhaps you need nothing underneath you. Perhaps you need more height than that. So, or maybe you need to flip over onto your back. So just find the range of motion. You don't want to go past your range of motion, but we do want to hang out here so that slowly over time, we enhance and encourage more range of motion. But we can't just yank ourselves past our points. We'll just end up hurting ourselves. So make sure your joints are happy. Make sure that you can feel the stretch of this in the belly of your muscles, that you're not guarding joint spaces. If you feel like you have to pull yourself out of the pose a little bit to guard a hip or a knee or an ankle, then use more support so that you can surrender. Our range of motion and our capacity to open up the fibers of our muscles, as well as all the juicy fascia, comes better when we're relaxed. If we are tense and guarding, our nervous system does not get the cue that all is well. So we don't find more spaciousness. We usually find contraction. So go to your end point and then find space. How is your breath? It's your guide to get there. Ready, rise back up. Either come back to dog pose or swing that back leg around or roll over onto your side. You're on your back. Breathing well, let's all meet in dog pose. Okay, so find your way here. Maybe you want to take your legs wider apart today, maybe not. Just see what feels nice. Try not to collapse. See what you can do to lift under the armpits. Feel the root to rise, the yield, and then the push off to reach. Come forward into a plank when you're ready. Enjoy the symmetry in your pelvis Inner thighs lifting to the sky. Open up the breath. Stable, but breathing. All right, let's come down. We're going to lift back up to up dog. So have your hands underneath you. We're going to come up onto our feet and our hands. Open the chest. Push off the ground. Stretch through your front body. And then exhale and melt to fold back down. Roll over onto your right side. Bend your knees and hips. Grab onto the front of your left ankle and open up through your quadriceps here. Just feeling a good quad stretch. You can always put a block under your head or your arm, whatever is needed for supporting. Feel into the way that your quadriceps can open. So try to feel all of your muscle fibers. And bring that knee back up, roll over onto your side, roll right over to your other side. Now we get to grab onto the right ankle and stretch your right quadriceps. Just enjoy. It's a good spacious feeling. See if you can stretch across all the fibers of your quads. Tailbone descends toward the knees, pubic bone lifts toward the belly button. All right, relax and melt that down. Grab a block. We're gonna lie on our back, and we're gonna come into a low block underneath our pelvis across our sacrum. So finding a low bridge, okay? But just allow yourself to be here for a moment. We're gonna move our legs, but for right now, let's just enjoy the sense of support that's under the pelvis. Open up through your chest, take some breaths. All right, we're gonna start with our right leg. Stretch your right leg on the ground, so your heel is on the floor. Breathing well. And this is just a little trial run. And then bring that right knee up and stretch your left heel. Now decide, how's your back? First of all, how's your SI joints? Is this too low? Would you rather go higher on a block? Are you doing okay with the 1 foot at a time? Now 2 feet, and we're gonna do 2 feet, stretching straight. Now, if you know that your back doesn't handle this well, then you just go back to doing one side and then the other. If you want, stretch 2 heels down at the same time. You can take your legs wider. You can put a higher block underneath you. You can reach your arms overhead. You can have your legs close together. Just experiment for what works. Now, a lot of openness in the front of the pelvis here, so let's enjoy. Big breaths. All right, bring your knees back in toward your chest. Let a little traction happen along your spine. And then we're gonna lift the legs straight up. So have the block in a good spot where you're supported. And just feel the kind of draining of your lymph. Can you feel your legs get lighter and lighter? All right, now open your legs out to a V. Breathing deeply. And then bring them back up. Knees to your chest, let your hip flexors relax. And then bring your feet down onto the ground, lift your pelvis, get the block out of there, and rest. So we've done a lot of range of motion in our hip joints now. So let's kind of see about putting some of that together. Go ahead and roll over onto your hands and your knees. And let's just notice what's available in your hips. So come bring your right leg straight back behind you. And we're gonna do kind of like a reverse breaststroke stroke with your legs. So knee out to the side, in and back. And just notice, do you have some space in there in your hip joint? Go the other direction. How is your support systems? How's the other leg, the other hip, your hands? All right, now bring your legs straight out to the side, toes pointing forward, knee pointing forward, and then stretch back a little bit into like child's pose on that other leg. Only go where your knee and hip can allow, and then bring that knee back in, child's pose. Inhale, lift back up onto all fours, left leg straight out behind you. Reverse breaststroke, so knee out to the side, up toward the armpit, underneath you, and stretch back. Just feel that range of motion. Maybe you hear some snaps or cracks or pops, and that's okay. But just notice how mobile is my hip joint right now. How's your breath? Do a few the other direction. Use your other leg to support you. Find your core. And then knee comes down onto the ground. We're going to take our leg out to the side, toes pointing forward, knee pointing forward, and stretch back towards child's pose. Just go where your body goes. And then come back up, leg back, dog pose. Extending through the spine, feel the symmetry, enjoy the symmetry. And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Drop your hips, rise up, open the chest, and then relax. Take your legs wide. Notice the work that we've done. We're going to move. We're not going to stay put very long, but we're going to move through some standing poses. Arms up. Exhale, Virabhadrasana. Arms up. Virabhadrasana 2. Now do hang out just for a couple breaths. Just feel into the range of motion. Open across your chest. Okay. Then we're going to come into Parsvakonasana. Open through your hip, open through your chest. Breathe all the space, empty rooms. Okay, and then reverse your warrior. Reach that arm up. Straighten your leg and find triangle pose. Nice open chest, ground through your back heel. Breathing well. Come back up. Turn your legs straight over to the other side. So left foot turns out, arms up. Take a deep breath. Exhale, Virabhadrasana. Inhale, arms up. Exhale. This next one will stay. And remember, your arms do not have to be out to the side. They can be in a different position. Anything that supports a sense of spaciousness and ease in the body. Ground through your legs. Is there a little more range of motion available to you right now than sometimes there is? When you're ready, elbow on your knee, stretch your arm over for Parsvakonasana. And open up to the support. Ground, yield, and then reach. Notice if there's some available space here that maybe isn't normal. We did so much work to open the hips before the standing poses. Reach your arm into a reverse. And find triangle pose. Arm down, open up through your chest. Shoulders are away, root the feet down, especially that back heel, stay connected. Come back up. Turn your feet wide, standing star. Maybe come into a goddess again. Find your breath, open your feet. Stand up and spin back to the front of your mat for a dog pose. Maybe feet wide, maybe toes turned in. Feel into the breath. All right, come forward into a plank. Nice and sturdy, steady. Unlock the elbows. Lower yourself down. Any back bend that you want. Open your body up. Exhale and relax. Come up and find child's pose. Rest your hips. Just relax in the depth. Decide whether you want your hips, your knees close together or far apart. Just see what feels best. All right. Sit on the edge of a blanket. Have your legs straight out. All right, so find the upward spine, open through your chest. We're going to take the left leg, cross the left leg over the right. Draw your knee in, lift through your chest, and we're twisting over to the left. Okay, so be active through your right leg. You can always put your elbow on the outside of your knee if you want depth. Remember that we're not trying to just press bone on bone and ratchet ourselves over. We want our twists to be organic feeling, moving with breath instead of just leveraging our strong bones. Let your twist be about your viscera and not about your bones. So breathe deeply in, and as you deeply breathe out, twist. Come back to center and switch legs. Cross your right leg over your left leg. Draw the elbow around your knee or on the other side of your knee. I like kind of hooking my knee with my elbow and then lean, not forward, but let your pelvis move forward so that you're on your sit bones and just feel the stretch in your outer hip. Open up through your chest and start to twist. Maybe your arm stays right here. Maybe your elbow comes to the outside of your knee. Notice, do you like twisting one side versus the other a little bit more? Where are the natural patterns in your body? All right, we'll come back around. So a lot of the things that we've just done have maybe not felt spacious, like deep hip compression and twists don't always feel spacious. But my hope is that they will feel spacious now as we move into a restorative pose. So we're going to come into heart bench. So one block under your head, one block in between your shoulder blades, okay? And depending on your height, you can have the block between your shoulder blades long, like in line with your spine, or across so that they're underneath the shoulder blades. Just see what's comfortable for you. All right, so first, let's just start with our legs straight. We're going to open up the chest now a little bit more. Get used to having the support underneath you. And after a couple of breaths of being used to that, grab onto your elbows with your opposite hands and then stretch your arms. See if you can get your arms to go over your head. And take some beautiful breaths here. Let your legs start to soften and melt. You can take your legs wider apart. You can put your legs in Supta Baddha Konasana, whatever feels nice. Moving that sense of openness now up to the upper body. We're going to put all this together in a moment. Let's just get used to opening the thoracic spine. Now undo your elbows and stretch. I'm running into a couch, but stretch your arms overhead if you can. Deep breaths. And then let your arms go out to a T. You can bend your elbows and let your arms rest. Bend your knees, roll over onto your side, and rest here for a moment. Just let your body soften into the support. Now, this next pose we're going to do is a little bit of a doozy for some people, so you can make a different choice. We're going to do Supta Virasana. So let me grab my bolster. This pose usually requires a fair amount of support for most people. So you can choose however as well for you. I'm going to have my two blocks stacked close to each other and put a bolster on top. So whatever kind of props you have. And then I'm going to sit in front of my bolster in between my feet. Now, for some people that is too low, so you can get your pelvis up on a blanket or something. So support whatever you need. So get your pelvis up on blankets, pillows, blocks, and then get whatever's behind your back higher than what's under your pelvis. So I can put my pelvis on the floor, so it makes it easy for me because I don't need as many props, but that's not available for a lot of people. So you can slide the bolster or whatever you've got, but you need to make sure that you have enough proppage for your back so that you're on a ramp. You are not in a back bend. Okay. All right, so once you figure this out, you can also put little rolled towels or something underneath the front of your ankles if your ankle extension is not so capable of doing this. So just find any support that you need. And if you're like, oh, I just can't get comfortable, then do Supta Baddha Konasana instead. If you want, you can bring the arms overhead. You can let them rest somewhere. See if you can melt. So one, example of compression and then freedom. So now the backs of our knees are feeling compression, but the hip flexors and the chest are hopefully feeling some openness. Take some deep breaths. We won't be here too long, so take some beautiful breaths. All right, then when you're ready, if you're very happy or if you just got there, hang out for as long as you want. But if you're ready to transition, we can make a transition. So, sometimes spending just a little bit of time in this pose more frequently. I know I don't teach it very often because I have no idea what people have prop wise at home. And it's usually a pretty prop intensive posture. But if you have the ability to do it frequently, just a minute or so will help you open up the pathways for that pose to get to be a restorative feeling so you can do it more often and for longer. Let's go ahead and stretch into dog pose. Open up the backs of your knees now. Feel the space like you just uncluttered a room. So open up the backs of the knees, let the blood and lymph flow. Relax. All right. Come down onto our back. Stretch your legs straight for a moment. Find your breath. We're going to do a simple twist before Shavasana. So scoot your hips over to one side, knees drop down. Enjoy the breath. And then pick up the knees and scoot your hips over the other way. Knees come up and drop them to the other side. And then come back up and find your way for Shavasana. So as you come into Shavasana, Do you want to have wide legs, wide arms? Do you want to lift your legs up on a couch or chair or bolster? Just find what's going to make you feel spacious and free. All right, so as you get comfortable, remember Shavasana really truly is, it's kind of like the most important pose we do in our practice. So if you have your eye on that sense of spaciousness, make sure that whatever position you end up in, that you have that quality, that there's a sense of ease, freedom, that you can drop your weight. Return back to the breath again. Let your body melt. Let's begin to deepen. Breathing again. Feel your body yield and melt. Remember that the space in your body matters. Sense of freedom in your body matters. Find any movement that serves. And
eventually finding your way onto your side. Go ahead and bring yourself upright. Palms together. Imagine all the sense of presence that you've cultivated in your mind body just is this big open room where anything is possible. Anything can come in. There's room for anything. Let's offer some of this energy outward. Share with someone who needs your care. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.